So I wanted to really start off with asking you, what do you think are the kind of major factors that prevent us from moving forwards or starting again?
Yeah, I was thinking about this because in a way, so many people feel that something's wrong in their lives. They feel there's something they want to change. But I think the way I began to think about it, I was thinking about our conversation is sort of, there's all these kind of locks in the way we live that are trapping us. I think, well, okay, what we need to do is help people get to the keys to undo those locks. And so many of the books that I've written in different ways about different problems are about that, right? I'm sort of, to some degree, subjects I write about, like depression, addiction, attention problems, weight problems, to some degree, I've got a sort of intellectual interest in them. But to be honest, the main reason I mention them, in understanding them sort of in a different way, is, okay, does that help us get to better solutions? Does we get to better answers? So I was thinking there's so many sort of locks and keys that we could talk about. There's so many places we could start. I guess I would start, the one that first came to mind, and so sound a bit, fancy or abstract at first, is I think one of the things that blocks people right at the start is that we're being taught to mistrust the signals we get from our own bodies and our own psyches, our own kind of spirits in a way, and to actually insult the signals that we get and to not understand them. So I think about my own case, right? But think about it in relation to depression. So when I was a teenager, I'd had as you know, we've talked about this so many times, I grew up in a very crazy environment. There was a lot of addiction, a lot of insanity. And I think about myself when I was 17. I went to the doctor. I was, distressed, right? The way I've sometimes put it is I felt like pain was leaking out of me. And I look back now, I think about the 17-year-olds I know now, and I think, oh, well, of course, it was kind of obvious why I was in that state, right? And my doctor told me something that was very common in the 90s. It's still being told to people a lot now. I get emails from it all the time. My doctor said, we know what's wrong with you. You've just got something wrong with your brain. You're lacking a chemical in your brain. All we need to do is give you some drugs. You're going to be fine. So I started taking an antidepressant called Paxil. But these feelings of pain kept coming back, and I kept taking higher and higher doses until for 13 years. So by the time we first met, I was on an unbelievably high dose for really, I had been on it for many years. And I think back now, my issue isn't with the drugs. There's obviously benefits and drawbacks to all drugs, but my issue isn't so much with the drugs. My issue, antidepressants benefited me for a while. They benefit many people. Anyone watching, if you're taking them, they're benefiting you, carry on. But my issue is about thinking about that signal right at the start. By saying, oh, this is just like a kind of glitch in a computer program, right? It's like a malfunction, a biological malfunction. Inadvertently, what my doctor was doing was saying, well, this signal doesn't mean anything, right? It's not a meaningful signal, it's a malfunction. So all you need to do is sort of, firstly, it locates the problem in you, right? Actually, the problem wasn't in me. I was a great kid, right? Yeah. Actually, what I needed to be told is, how amazing that you survived all this. Well done you, right? Like that would have been a really powerful message to be told, not you're broken, there's something wrong with you, even though it was very well, I want to stress again, very well intentioned. And I think that's happening a huge amount in our culture, right? So sometimes it's easier to see it if you think about it in the recent past. If you think about the 1970s, right? In the 70s, there was, it still is now, but there was even more domestic violence in Britain, right? It was very common. And very often, women who were being violently abused would go to their doctor, they were being beaten up, and the doctor would say, you've got a nervous disorder and you need Valium to treat your nervous disorder. And people were literally told there's something wrong with your actual physical nerves, right? It wasn't like a metaphor, right? And lots of people believe that. Now, when we look back on it, we can see, oh, right, that wasn't, what those women needed to be told was, you need to get the fuck away from this man who's abusing you. Right? You don't need Valium, you need a domestic violence shelter and a society that supports you and sides with you against violent men who think they can abuse you, right? But at the time, some people saw it, obviously it's why heroic women set up domestic violence shelters, but a lot of people couldn't see it. And I think in a way, we're a lot closer to that than we'd like to think, right? Lots of things are going wrong in our culture. In lots of ways, people watching, your deeper psychological needs will not be being met. You're experiencing signals of that, which can be depression, anxiety, attention problems, addiction, all sorts of things, overeating, whole battery of things, right? You've got all four of my books there, you could go down the list, right?